Hello, hello, hello. I'm back. I got more stuff I'm going to talk about. And today, what I want to talk about is Twitter possibly dying. Ever since Elon took over Twitter late 2022, Twitter has undergone a lot of massive changes that have made the site so much worse to use. He's been running it like a king, and he does not care what any of us peasants think. And some of the bad changes he's made include changing the name overall from Twitter to X, making people pay $8 if you want your replies to be seen at the first of a post, unbanning people that probably shouldn't be unbanned, and the one that got to me the most, because I do like stalking accounts from time to time, is hiding the likes. So we can no longer see what people are liking on Twitter. So if someone's making a extremely racist post, you can just like that shit without people calling you out for it. But one of the biggest changes that was recently made, which didn't get as much attention because it was something you could already do on Twitter, was the adult content on the site. So if you don't know, Twitter always allowed adult content on the site, but they actually now made it so there's actual guidelines regarding that adult content. So now the official guidelines allow adult content. Everything is allowed except non-consenting content and CP. So pretty basic guidelines regarding that. But the one glaring problem with that is that Twitter allows people 13 and up to make an account and use the site. So if you have people who are underage on Twitter and you've now officially allowed adult content on Twitter, that's going to be a big problem. And that's going to be a problem for the advertisers and companies that are posting on Twitter that maybe don't want to be associated with that. Now, for Twitter's part, they have said that anyone under the age of 18 won't see any adult content, but if you've been on Twitter recently, I do find that a little bit hard to believe, especially since that, let's just take, for example, a celebrity who might have their sex tape or nudes leaked. They will be trending on Twitter's trending tab, and if you click on their name, you're going to see why they're trending very quickly, and you're going to see what video or picture that was making them trending. And we do know that people who get on these sites do lie about their age. It doesn't help that the guy who runs the site has now twice unbanned people posting CP because the followers of that person posting CP claim they were being silenced. So that doesn't give companies who advertise on there much confidence that he's going to actually do something about the CP on the site. Now, if you think that's something companies and advertisers don't want to be associated with, you're absolutely right. And I want to give an example of Tumblr. About 6 years ago, Tumblr was accused of having CP on their site by the Apple App Store. And as a result of that, Apple kicked them off of their store, which means less people were able to use Tumblr at that time. Tumblr denied it, but about a month later, they did something very drastic, and that was remove all adult content from their site. And the result of Tumblr making that move was about a third of the people who were using Tumblr because of that just left, and they never came back. In 2022, they decided to bring back some adult content to get some of those people back. But at that point, it was way too late, and everyone who left then went to Twitter or Reddit or did something else with their life. Also, the minimum age to sign up for a Tumblr account was 13 and up. So I think that was one of the reasons why Apple made that decision at the time, because they didn't want to be associated with the social media site that was allowing minors to have access to that type of content. And I do want to point out that Reddit also is another major social media site that allows adult content, and that is a 13 plus site. But in their defense, they do a little bit of a better job of moderating their content and having tags that are not safe for work that, no one can see unless you explicitly admit. And I know they did have their own problems with CP back, I think 7 or 8 years ago, with like the jailbait subreddit and probably a couple other subreddits. But they did clean that up, and they're still on the app stores, so they're not having that much of a problem with that, and advertisers as well. But Twitter has become so much worse than Tumblr or Reddit could ever be. And I do believe that one of a few things will happen. First, I think that Apple or Google will kick them off of their app stores, because I don't think they're going to be, I just personally don't think they're doing a good job of moderating their content in general, which means if they do kick them off, less people will have access to Twitter. I think secondly, they could pull a Tumblr, which means Twitter just removes all adult content, which that would be, I guess, good for them in the short term. But a lot of people that do use Twitter for that type of content will just leave. It's going to be a Tumblr situation. They're going to leave. They're never going to come back. And Twitter is just going to be just like every other site that doesn't have adult content. And it won't be unique anymore if they did do something like that. And finally, I think there's the most extreme option, which would be a pretty much fuck it option. Google and Apple would remove them from their stores, and Elon does nothing about it. And he just says, fuck it, you'll either just make his own app store or just say, hey, if you want to get on Twitter, you have to get on the internet. And he'll probably hide it under the guise of freedom of speech, and people will just leave anyways, and Twitter will continue to be a shithole. I do believe that less and less people are just using Twitter overall, thanks to the numerous changes that are happening. You know, when I get on Twitter, I just see bots everywhere. I see bots interacting with each other, unoriginal posts, celebrities getting hacked, promoting crypto. It's just overall a bad look if you've been on Twitter lately. I'm not sure how long will Twitter survive in its current form, but if I was a betting man, I would probably say about a couple more years before something really big happens, and then one of these changes that I spoke about will happen. And I think the people who are still on Twitter using it will just say fuck it and move on, and just either go to a different social media site or just do something different with their lives. That's what happened to Tumblr in 2018 when they made that change. A third of their user base just left, and they tried to fix it, but it never was the same after that. Adult content is a big business on the internet, and a lot of companies that do host it want to try to make money off of it, but they have to kind of find this fine balancing line between trying to make money off of it, and then if they do have people who are underage, making sure they don't see that, so advertisers won't get upset, and that, you know, kids won't be seeing, you know, sexual content on the internet. Twitter, in my opinion, is a ticking time bomb, but let's see if Elon can unfuck himself from the situation he's been continuing to put himself in. But again, if I was a betting man, I highly, highly, highly doubt it.